Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy, what is it, June 29th? I'm so glad you are here. And we're at the end of June and we're most definitely in Cancer season. And we're coming up on a really big holiday, July 4th here in the States. So, um, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. You're seeing river hair or lake hair. Once it gets to a certain temperature here, it's just so much easier to go swim in the lake, and I do it almost every day. So you get to see what it looks like when I sort of get up in the morning and write a script and come over and visit you. so, uh, as you know, each week I gather sort of like these frequencies, the solar updates, the patterns that are catching my eye and where they are and where they land. And then what I do is I sit with them and I listen and I weave them into this tapestry, and then I lay them all out, and they're on my notes. And I know if I don't stay on my notes that I'm going to wander because I'm a Pisces. I'm a double Pisces. I can go and thinking I'm spending 1 minute on something and 10 minutes has gone by. So when you see me looking at the notes, it's because it keeps me on track. Okay. So this week, man, we've had some very minor solar storms. There's been some geomagnetic stuff at a G1 level, nothing that's really rocking us yet. We are totally floored, right? We're witnessing system collapses. We're witnessing timelines fleshing out. We're reclaiming this nervous system that's been our inner antenna, which is like this, like the way that we gather information. Our nervous system has just been over agitated. And we're going into the 4th of July weekend, which, is the dissonance between our inner truth and who we know ourselves to be and that outer, like celebrations, family gatherings, everything that sort of puts us in that place of like, oh, I know who I am, and I know that this is very different. So we've got some challenges ahead of us. Okay. So let's start first with the solar flares. Um, and the geomagnetic storms. So, when I said the solar flares have been quiet, it's been like from a C1 to a C5. And that's it. Like if you look at the schedule, when I didn't bring it up, it's just like all orange, it's all C's. And on spaceweather.com. And then it'll even drop down into the B's. And it's in yet I'm getting texts that are saying I'm having vertigo, I'm spinning, I didn't sleep for the last 2 nights because of these energetic pulses and these dreams that I'm having. So, there has been a geomagnetic storm, but there hasn't really been any spikes on the Schumann resonance. There haven't been any visible auroras or anything that's going on to tell us what we've been trained. That's why I called this more than the flares, because what we're used to seeing as a cause and effect flare, this is happening, isn't what it is, because solar flares are plasma holders and they're movers. And plasma, as we've talked about in previous videos, is this light encoded intelligence that has the kind of information we used to know deep down, that we were trained to forget. So what's happening is the plasma waves are hitting us and agitating and awakening, and we don't have the traditional solar flare measurements to say, oh, that's what that is. Now we have to go, oh, there's something inside of me that's much deeper in waking up, right? So these mild flares aren't nothing. They're gently recalibrating us. They're nudging us and opening us up and and I want to say rewriting our mental scripts, because that's going to be the most important theme for today, is that our mental scripts, our mental conditioning is being revamped. So the quiet is really deceptive, and there's a lot of movement behind, which is why I started to really identify myself as not just a metaphysician, but a metaphysical strategist, someone who says, this is what's going on. And these are things you can do for it, because if we're not talking about the invisible, how do we know what to do? Right. Okay. So with the solar flares, I want to bring in 3, 4 different people and what they were saying and weave it together. So the first one is Zachary Fisher. He's sort of a brilliant, he's very prolific. He can put a lot of stuff out on social media. Yet when he talks deep and he talks in the language that I understand. And he says that we're in the middle of what's called a field flush. So when you think of that, he speaks of the current unraveling of the surface structures and how it's also sort of causing this internal structure as well. So, the sort of as within, so without. What's happening in here is also happening on the earth. So he's paralleling that, right? And he said, what we're purging isn't ours, yet at the same time, it's totally ours because what we're purging is not ours, yet it is ours. So we have this negativity, we have these memories, we have these feelings that are coming out. And so what's flushing is fear-based identities like single mother was really hard financially for a while, parental stuff, needing to be right, narratives that keep us small, like sit down and be quiet. We don't need to hear your voice right now. And you're like, whoa, I remember all of this, right? Divisions, distortions, mental loops. And so what's coming out, according to Zachary, is a deeper self-trust, some emotional clarity that's aligned with our mental emotional clarity. These two are working really well together. The emotional water and swords and air are really working together. So when I think of the clarity, it's like this is starting to emerge. This is who we know ourselves to be. And according to Zachary, this is that sort of wisdom. I love this is the Osho version of the sun card. This is where you just sort of sit back and you're able to witness the chaos without becoming it. That's where we become so wise and grounded that we can just go, yeah, that's going on out there, but that isn't what I'm going to focus on right now, right? So we're clearing a sense of path and purpose, and this is all falling into place. So we're in this, he says we're in this separation window where truth is rising and a distortion is kind of clinging, and our nervous system is the bridge where we're going to feel everything and we're going to decode everything and we're going to be agitated. Does that make sense? Feel into that. Zachary's saying that our nervous system is the bridge between what we're feeling, what we're becoming, and what's happening on our earth. Huh. Okay. Now we're going to shift to astrology because it is turning out to be so informative. And again, I'm just the bridge. I'm not an astrologist. I just like to tell you what I'm finding. So right now, Uranus is in the final degrees, that 29 degrees, that anaretic section, right, of Taurus. It's completing 7 years where we've been doing this physical earth sign deep embodiment. And on July 7th, Uranus, the planet of innovation, disruption, the lightning bolt, is going to move into Gemini, the mind, the social discernment, the way we sort of go like, well, this is what I know, this is how I add pieces to it, which is the sign of communication, thought, mental, writing, sometimes associated with technology. I also associate it with neighbors, siblings, like new things like, oh, this is a new construct, a new way of living a family that I didn't know. And so it's where we start to add, and it's called social discernment, right? Okay. So Fida Fidel, she's an astrologer who has a lot of social presence, and she puts out these pieces, I share them on my Patreon for free. So if you want to just go on to my Patreon, you can sort of read the link that I did of Uranus entering Gemini. And so it's a page, and then, it's got a thread that are 10, 12 deep, right? So she said, this is the unraveling of cognition as a central deity of existence. So you could sit for 4 days with that statement. The unraveling of cognition, the way that we've learned, the way that we have put things together, the way we have built constructs is unraveling. The neural rebellion of authentic intelligence versus the simulation of intelligence. So what's happening is that our authentic intelligence is faced with this simulation intelligence. This is what I learned in high school. This is how I learned language. This is what those words mean. This is what that construct is. It's collapsing the narrative intelligence. So the intelligences that we were taught and conditioned through family, school, church, everything is collapsing. Boom. Just let that land. It's collapsing. This isn't a shift, it's a revolt into knowing. And so for those of us who are intuitive, who are clairvoyant, who are claircognizant, this is where the intuition starts to rise over the narrative, which is I understand things on a different level. I can't show you where it is in the words that you want to use, but I know that claircognizant over cognitive control. This isn't a shift, it's a revolt, right? So it's the end of the old narrator, it's the end of the old constructs, and it's the rise of the inner knower. The rise of the inner knower. Think about that. We're not shifting thoughts, we're shifting through how thoughts work. So we're entering into this, part where the voice in our head is going to glitch. It's like, yeah, I don't know the word for that. I can't say that word anymore. I'm trying to pull the data that I've memorized and been so proud of all my life for being able to do, and it's not working. What's replacing it is flashes and pulses, and that's where I said clairvoyance, because it's like I see things in my head and I put things together and they're weaving, which is very, very different. And my nervous system is used to it. Your nervous system might not be. So this is where we're going through some changes. And this is also Uranus. This is how Uranus works. That lightning bolt is like pulsing, it's flashes, it's downloads into our systems. And we're like, whoa. So it's electrical. And it's the end of mental gatekeeping. Like we can't fit in a box anymore. So what I did was I had a call with a client who's highly anxious and gets into a mental loop. And so we went and we opened the Instagram with Fida Fidel, and we went page by page and reconstructed, because she's also a tarot reader with me. And so it was like, do you want to memorize what the card is, or do you want to access that knower where this all comes in? And this is what's being valued and awakened right now. This is how we remember. This is how we lead. This is how we weave the meaning of the things that pulse in and awaken us. I just love that. So she was fabulous. And then right on the heels of that, yesterday I watched Madrona Pulse, who's Iris J. She's a PhD, and she's also a badass astrologer. She's really good. So what she started was that with this entry of Uranus into Gemini, she says that this is the rise of quantum language. This is where the languages that we are learning are so much different and bigger than anything we've ever been exposed to, that we're in the phase of conscious communication, that we're creating our higher mind rather than thinking there's something wrong with it. So when we have these images and these swirls and these downloads and these drop-ins, or this, complete, I like to just put my hands up and go, complete channel of information coming in, that this is our higher mind. So, we're releasing also, according to Iris J, our overdependence on technology, yet at the same time developing new relationships with technology, Gemini. And we're seeing multiple perspectives at once, which I liked, because it's like we're not being asked to power through it. We're being asked to decompress and recalibrate the way that we work with our minds. So the way my experiences work, yesterday morning or the night before, I ran across Rose Patiniotis. I don't know how to say her last name. She's a transformational coach on Instagram, socials, all over. She described ADHD not as a disorder, but as quantum sensitivity. Okay. She said it's a fast brain, it's big vision, it's multi-genius, it's pattern reading, it's energy feeling, it's future seeing. And she says we weren't made to fit into a box, we were made to bend reality. And so for those of you who watch my videos, you know that I can take very structured, very linear stuff and then show you how it all interplays with each other, because she's right. And I use a lot of this in the description of the ADHD, because ADHD is really one of the beauty skills of the indigo, right? Because indigos are multidimensional, they're strong-willed, they're psychically gifted, they're resistant to control and punishment-based systems. They are looking at the old paradigms, the old narratives, and they're going like, no, those don't work anymore. So they're here to change the structures in the institutions, in education, in our authority, in our way that we're communicating. So if you haven't read this book, there's just pages and pages, and I don't even know that I can put my hand on it right now, of these lists of what qualities and features are of those of us who are indigos, right? So it's really nice to have Rose talk about ADHD and then really feel that there's freedom, there's sovereignty in structure, there's soul respect, there's all these pieces that go together as we start to bring in our inner knower, right? So remember that we're, if we were labeled, or we still label ourselves as ADD, ADHD, right? Like, it's not a dysfunction, it's an advanced recalibration. That's what we want to know. So when we look at Irish J, when we look at Rose, when we look at Fida, when we look at Zachary, what we're saying is our mind and our ability to access information is recalibrating. It's coming into a new place. And what else is it that I want to say? Um, I can't find it. I'm just going to point to this. It's like there's pieces falling into place, which is my intelligences are different than other people's. The way I access intelligences are different, and I have a lot of inner wisdom. Makes sense? Okay, so I have 6 tips for you, and if you haven't found my Patreon, there's a link down below in the description on how to get to that. And you can do free membership, you can do paid membership and be part of the weekly discussion, or you can even go study tarot with me on level 2. So, you were open to a lot of different things. Okay, 6 tips. I love these tips. I love these tips. Okay, because what we're looking at is that clash between inner coherence and outer chaos. So here's how we want to stay rooted and respond to that. So number 1 is you got to support your nervous system, right? Which means that you got to unplug when you can. That sensory overload is real, and it's really real this week because it's vacation week. It's July 4th. At least if you're in a fireworks state, everybody's already buying fireworks. There's noise everywhere. So number 1, unplug. Number 2, with supporting your nervous system, maybe do some noise canceling headphones when you need quiet or when you need to go to a peaceful environment, and start and end your day with checking in on your nervous system. Like, hey, what do you need right now? Do you need a bath? Do you need some soothing music? Can I give myself a foot massage? Something that just sort of brings everything down. Can I find some pressure points that take the pressure off and allow my nervous system to flow, right? Number 2, we talk about this all the time. Hydrate deeply, because plasma intelligence is fluid. It needs a fluid vessel. So we need a lot of water, and our organs are under a lot of duress as this plasma intake is coming in. So we're in that point where we need to put a lot of water, minerals, electrolytes. And last couple months last couple weeks I've been talking about watermelon, cucumber, aloe vera, things that really help with our bodies, and mineral drops in your water. Okay, so number 2 is hydrate deeply. Number 3, like we say it all the time, ground, 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 in so many ways. Ground daily. Walk barefoot in your house. If you've got socks on, if you've got slippers on, if you've got shoes on, and your feet are never touching the floor, how do you expect yourself to ground? So ground in the house, ground out in the yard, take your shoes off, get outside. I have hardwood floors, and one of my favorite things is to keep my hardwood floors. I wipe them down, mop, like dust them off, and then I walk barefoot, and I can feel all of the wood working with me. Also, get out in the garden, touch greens, go touch trees, go dig in the earth, go do what you need to do to ground, ground, ground. Okay. Number 4, it's called energetic hygiene, right? So you say no with grace. Like, yeah, no, I'm not going to go to those obligatory gatherings. I'm not going to go stand under fireworks because everybody else wants to. You just say no with grace. Number 2, you rest in the middle of the day. So when you are tired, maybe knowing that a little bit of a 20 my mother used to be able to lay on the couch and take a 15-minute to 20-minute cat nap, and she was completely refreshed, and we would just look at her like, "How do you do that?" Because when I fall asleep, I'm out for hours. She would just cat nap, right? So you rest in the middle of the day to give your system a reset. You breathe down deep into your belly. Make sure that you're not breathing from up here in the chest. Where am I breathing from? Is my solar plexus going in and out and in and out? So it's really important. Also to cleanse your field, whether it's through smudging or salt baths or sound, or I have a Tibetan bowl that I play. Keep your field, your energy open, right? Number 5, consciously anchor. So notice when the narrator is in that old mental loop and then go, is this mine? Am I parroting and repeating what I've been taught, or is this something new that I'm listening to? So know who the narrator is and where the information is coming from. Also, let that knowing rise within your body. So when this starts to show up, trust that there's information coming in. And when the information comes in, just sort of play with it, gather it, and bring it in. Write it down. Journal. Journal your downloads, your dreams, your sensations, and prepare. Because as we get to July 7th, Uranus in Gemini is going to be clearing this massive mental clutter out of the way and opening space for new frameworks to come in. And we're going to be going like, whoa, what happened? And we've had a little bit of pre-warning. So each week I gather not from my mind, but from the field, right? Not from the voice in my head, but from the pulse of the knower. I am in this bringing information to you. So, let this be your practice this week. Uh, Feel more than you explain, rest more than you react, listen deeper than you respond, because we are changing the world, one person, one soul at a time. So have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday. Take care.